evening. My name is Floyd G. Smaller Jr. First loves in my life, my mom, my dad, my grandmother, my sisters and brothers, my 2 wives, and my 4 sons. Everything after that came after, but I had enough love left to share. In Arkansas, in Minnesota. I was born in Arkansas. I had a short stop in St. Louis, Missouri. Stayed there for about 2.5 months. Came to Minnesota with my mom. We had a shoebox full of chicken. It was full until we got to head to Minnesota. Then we didn't have nothing but the shoebox left. When the train arrived, let me back up just a minute. I had a lot of things to say during the last 2 years, but a lot of things happened. And please, when I stray off, would you bring me back to the point where we came to Minnesota? But I'd like to say this to you. Mechanic arts was always one of my dreams as a kid coming out. My heroes was in mechanic arts. The only heroes was teachers and cheerleaders and stuff like that. You didn't have Proposition 9 that was taking care of them at that point. Ladies wasn't allowed. So I'm making excuse for them right now. But what I found out through this last 3 years, we had a gentleman that wasn't born here. He has a friend that wasn't born here. And they got enough nerve to want to kick people out of this nation who have fought and died, black, white, Mexican, Indians, Jews, Polacks, you name it. I was raised with all these people. And at times I loved them all. And at times we called each other names, blacked each other's eyes. Well, I black theirs, they white mine. And one thing I felt at Marshall High School, I was in McKinley grade school. And when we came up here, they set me back a year. So I was in second grade, but I should have been in 3rd grade. Not so much, it's all right, I didn't mind. But they thought the kids that come from the South were kind of behind, not too caught up, kind of dumb. And I went along with that. I didn't have no problem. I was having a good time. But when I was 7th grade, check this. They put 8 of us out of McKinley grade school. I would call some names, but I'll tell you this, Buzz Ransom was one of them. Sonetta Williams, one of my good friends, was one of them. We went to Marshall, and I still long for mechanic arts. Buzzy was down here making a name for himself, and I was thinking to myself, I got to get down mechanic arts with my old friends. I wanted to be in mechanic arts with my friends, Frank Silver, Art Interior, John Garrett, Buzz Ransom, and myself. The guy that coached us in Little League was a product of mechanic arts. Y'all know him, he was a contractor in town. Do anybody remember Bert Sandberg?
Yes.
Bert Sandberg coached me and Frank Silver, Art Interior, Buzz Ransom, John Garrett, and we won the Little League Championship. Now, guess what? Fate is stranger than fiction. I tell you, that same team was the team in 1955 that won the city championship undefeated.
Oh, wow.
And there hadn't been the championship since 1931. Art Interior, Frank Silver, Buzz Ransom, myself, and John Garrett. The same identical bunch that played at Overboys Club, that played at Savage Club, played at Mechanic Arts and won the championship. And I don't know how much time you guys are giving, but I don't want to take up too much of your time. But I want to say a few things about what's happened lately. When people are talking about making America greater, I don't think America has been greater than it has been in the last 10 or 15 years. I don't think there's a person in here who wants to see black and white bathrooms anymore. I don't think there's anyone in this room that want to separate us from each other. The brothers and the sisters and the people that came through Mechanic Arts, and this organization being 116 years old, that says a lot for the people that went here. That says a lot for the people that let their kids go here. That says a lot for the school that was down there next to the Capitol in St. Paul. It says a lot for the kids that fought their hearts out, whether it was second place, third place, or last place. Everybody still respects the Mechanic Arts. And you got to say a lot for the teachers that welded together to take care of black kids, Indian kids, Mexican kids, you name it. There was no end to it. And I tell you, it kind of struck me a little funny at times when all of a sudden you have a person, black, coming out of this system that he loved, and somebody named Mr. Rick Ringheisen, who's sitting with me right now, who's a coach and a Hall of Fame coach in his own right, and a product of the school system, and one of the executive directors of the Minnesota State High School League. I met this gentleman about 2.5 years ago, and I'll tell you, it has nothing to do with his color. He could be my brother, he could be my cousin, he could be any of that. He's one hell of a great person. And I've only known him for 3 years. And I can tell you this, that's who he is. I have no doubt about that. I want to say a few more things to the people here. They came in here tonight to honor me. I am more honored than you think. I came through a tough 3 years. I've gotten a little older. I got a stiff back. I get around better on some days than I do with others. But it's here getting old, isn't it, fellas? They didn't tell us the real truth, did they?
Like it is.
Yeah, they didn't tell us the real truth about getting old. They made it seem like a rocking chair was fun. A rocking chair stiffens you up, then you can't hardly walk. I'll tell you this, keep walking, Mechanic Arts. And our minds will keep playing. I'm going to tell you this last story. I have a lot of things I thought I could say to you, but I'm not going to waste your time. I'm going to let you talk to each other. And I want to tell you from the heart, I love Mechanic Arts and I love the people that's here. That gentleman just left out here, that's my nephew. You know, a lot of people probably didn't know that. He's right here. He's an All-American track. And he was the only, out of all the great athletes I had, he was the only one put in position. And I challenged him and he challenged me. He said, Coach, I will do it. I said, can you beat this kid? Can you beat this Birch kid? You know whose kid that was? Jerry Birch from Mechanic Arts. His son was the fastest kid in the state. Should have been going to Central with this kid. Then we'd have had 2 more state championships, no doubt. But we challenged Birch, and I said, can you beat him? He said, Coach, I said, you've got 3 other guys. You're running on a relay team with some long distance people and they need you. I said, I feel bad taking you away because you're setting me up for failure. I'm setting you up for failure. He said, Coach, I trust you. I said, never, and I trust you. So we spent the last half of that season, and I put him against every runner I could find. And he was coming out on top. And I said, how you doing, son? He said, I'm moving closer to Birch. I said, we gonna do it? I said, I'd rather leave 3 kids at home. He said, Coach, we're gonna do it. And I'll tell you, sitting in the stands that day, this kid I'm looking at who ran so fast, he's run for mayor. What's going to be next? The thing that happened that day, sitting out that stadium in Blaine, they had the 100-yard dash. Guess who beat Burton? Melvin. Guess who beat Burton in the 200 meters? Melvin. Guess who beat the field in the 400 meters? Melvin. And he took third in the long jump. Second in the long jump. That was an all-American performance for a high school student. And now he's our mayor. So I guess all of us are pretty proud. But I'm going to say again, and I might as well say this now because I gave Jerry Keenan the card out here. And I got a card in my bag. I'm not Santa Claus, but I got a few things for a few people in that bag over there. And I want to say this about Jerry Keenan. Jerry Keenan did a magnificent job with that team that we had. They weren't the biggest team, but they had the biggest heart. They ended up being the biggest players, and they made the biggest impact on the Twin Cities, and maybe the state. They opened up the things for inner city kids where they were no longer losing in the first round. Jerry took his team to the finals against Chisholm, a tough team, and we lost by 8. And I started thinking, in the South when I coached, and I got my kids to that point, we were in the state tournament, and we lost by 8. We played the biggest team in all of Arkansas. But it was all black team because integration hadn't taken place. And they had a 6'9" kid bringing the ball down the floor. That was intimidating. And they went 6'5", 6'6", 6'1", 5'11" across. They were behind 38 points at halftime. Not bragging, folks, just fact. We lost by 8 points. And they didn't take 90 people out. We fouled a few of them out. I had a great team. And it's written down. I got stuff for you to see and to read. But I just like being able to tell it to you in a live voice, too. They scored 100. They scored 99 points at halftime just before the district started in Arkansas. And a policeman came into the gym and he says to me, Coach, he says, man, you got a hell of a team there, son. He says, boy, I mean, what they're going to say now in the shower? I said, there'll be no shower. That was the first half. He put his hat on and left. That team scored 159 points. And all I said to him, leave something here that never be forgotten. But the first team did not play in the second half at all. Second team played, and the third team played. And that's part of what Melvin was talking about. I'm going to give every kid that I have a chance to, and every parent, and everybody I'm connected to, a chance to be successful in any program that I'm connected to. I told you that story to tell you that. And the things I brought here, write-ups and all that stuff so you can read, the very much thing about it, they all talk about the philosophy more than they do the winning and the losing of teams. Keep that in mind, folks, when you send these kids out. There's a bigger thing out there. There's family, there's community. Love those things first, and you never be losers anyway. Thank you for supporting me this evening.